What if Spider-Man wasn't just a cool idea, but a character your table would never forget? Today we're brewing Spider-Man into a fully blown, playable D&D character, breaking down the choices, the flavor, and the mechanics that make them sing at the table. Ever wonder how to make Spider-Man in D&D? We'll show you exactly how to do it, because this is how we brew it. Homebrew is where the heart is. It's where Dungeon Masters, Dice Goblins, and beautiful Chaos Gremlins come together to turn sparks into legends. So how do you take an idea, a class, a twist, a backstory hub, a wild mechanic, and turn it into something that actually works at the table? It's simple. We brew it. We've got 6 flavorful categories to walk through, designed to help you build characters that feel playable, alive, and unforgettable at the table. And today we're going to do brew it. But first today, Taylor, our sponsor is Chaotic Studios. So I'm going to challenge you to do this ad read as if you were a character in the Spider-Man universe.
Yeah. Okay.
I kind of want to do
ready?
it, though, honestly. But
Do you want to do it?
maybe I should
I feel like you never say that. Do you want to do
I
it?
kind of want to do it because I love Spider-Man so much.
Okay, you do it. I hope you don't pick the character I was going to do. But
Okay. Today's episode is sponsored by Chaotic Studios, not sponsored by Order, sponsored by Chaos. You think your campaign has enough chaos? Please, Chaotic Studios looked at normal demographics and said, what if we made them cooler? Need gorgeous dice? They've got them. Dice towers. Absolutely beautiful 3D minis. Yep, custom printed creations for your table. They'll make them coasters worthy of protecting the sacred gaming table. Of course. They even have a subscription box because apparently unleashed fresh chaos on your doorstep once wasn't enough. If it belongs at a tabletop, there's a decent chance they've already made it. And if they haven't, they'll probably invent it by next Tuesday. Use our affiliate link below to get 10% off in order to help support the show. Chaotic Studios, embracing tabletop chaos. Your party doesn't have to. Although, let's be honest, they still will.
Wow. I don't think I expected any of that.
Do you know how I was trying to be?
Green Goblin.
Yeah. Thanks
Yeah,
again
okay,
for Chaotic Studios for sponsoring our show. And now let's get into the categories. I think you could have also potentially said that was Carnage, but whatever.
Is that what you wanted it to be?
No. I think it's kind of happen. I was like, I kind of went like my intention was Green Goblin, but then halfway through I was like, maybe this is Carnage. Whatever.
It was giving Green Goblin like comic book animated, not like it wasn't giving William Dafoe.
William Dafoe. Yeah. What character were you going to do?
I was gonna do J. Jonah Jameson.
Oh yes, okay, good. Yeah.
Yeah.
That would have been
So
great.
next time.
That would have been great. I am not as good at doing J. Jonah Jameson, but I'm much more down for the wild, manic, insane person. So what does that say about me? I don't know. Okay, well, thanks again, Chaotic Studios. We're going to go right into our things from here. B, base build. What's the mechanical foundation with the class, the species, stats? R, resonance and vibe. This is where the character gets the heartbeat. This is going to be the important one for Spider-Man. E, extra froth. What makes this character pop? A signature move, a quip or a THWIP, W is weird for us. This little off-book detail you never find in standard book guide. I is inner drive of why do they adventure and why is it responsibility? T is tension. What pressure follows them into every scene and why is it responsibility?
Saying it twice is crazy.
Because it's what he's about, with great power comes great whatever, All right, so let's get right into it though, KR, with the base build. What's the base build for building Spider-Man?
Okay, so I've actually been thinking about this for a long time, probably longer than I should have been. I think the base build for Spider-Man, I think Spider-Man is a multi-class.
Okay.
The reason I say that is because I feel like what's important for Spider-Man is high dexterity.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, again, we're talking about superheroes. We've talked about superheroes before, and when we talk about superheroes, we always talk about like, amazing ability to do so many things, and your character kind of has to be able to do that.
Spectacular.
Spider-Man.
Ultimate. 100%. Yeah, all those different comic book friends.
Yeah. And I think when it comes to Spider-Man, I'm like, giving him a class that allows him to have extraordinary ability to do things outside of the costume and the tech is important. So I'm thinking like a ranger with super high dexterity, but I'm also thinking someone who is ultra intelligent. So I'm moving toward artificer because he's an inventor. And I think making the cool thing about an artificer that not enough people play with is that an artificer doesn't necessarily cast magic. An artificer invents magical things.
Right.
And so I'm like, the cool thing about Spider-Man is that he is the best, in my opinion, he is the best of Batman and name other hero here that doesn't use tech, like Superman or something. He's has like these cool abilities. He can do superhuman things, but also is so smart before that even happened.
Right.
He was an intelligent guy. So I'm like, make him an artificer, use the spell web as your freaking thing.
Right.
Like do all these cool, make all these spells that are invented in some ways, right? But also like having him have the spell jump that is a cantrip is great. Having Larmstrider be a cantrip is great. And so that's also why I'm like, having Ensnaring Strike as Spider-Man, as a ranger, is great. You know? Having Entangle as a web shooting thing is great. So I would say for my opinion, his base build is Artificer Ranger. And he's all of his that, and then again, talking about things that are important that we kind of have to have, I think all of his spells are invented and in some ways connected to web shooting, or just spider-like ability.
Right. Yeah, I mean, because there's literally spider climb and all these other things. So,
That's what I'm saying.
So this does depend on what flavor of Spider-Man you're going for, right? Because if you there are the versions of Spider-Man, like the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man and certain runs of Spider-Man where his powers are innate, right? And he, for some reason, getting bit by a spider means he can shoot webs, right? Okay, cool. Yeah. Like, does that totally make sense? No, but whatever. It's for fiction. You know, you make it happen. So it could be that he could be like a monk, right? So his ability to move around very fast and dodge things and hit a bunch of times and all this other stuff is possible, right? And you could just kind of have him take innate spells and like there's no limit to these spells in theory. I think
everything's a cantrip.
Right. Again, the problem with superheroes and superpowers is that they're kind of designed to be one-man armies themselves. So there's not a lot of like spell slots and things like that to kind of limit their ability to do the things. Now, this does come into play with web shooters where sometimes he does run out of web fluid and he's like, oh no, I'm all out. And that does matter. And if you want to be that flavor of Spider-Man, you absolutely can. But that's not always everybody's fiction, right? There's a reason that in the Spider-Man video games over time, they've gotten rid of Spider-Man ink, like web cartridges, right? Like over time in like the Spider-Man by the Insomniac games for the PS5, Spider-Man by Insomniac, they like don't have any of that. It's just like, I've got webs, unlimited, right? And they only kind of have the web cartridges go away for like flavor, right?
Yeah.
So up to you on how you want to run it, right? But I do think, right, at the very minimum, you want to use some of the rules for how they do Ensnaring Strike, how they do Entangle, how they do Wall Climb, and basically have that inform how Spider-Man works overall. The problem for me, as just like a giant Spider-Man fan, is that all of the D&D spells are too limited to actually unleash the creativity of what Spider-Man does with his webs all the time, right? None of them allow him to do the crazy problems and solutions he builds with his webs through different things.
Interesting.
Even like if you're thinking about Spider-Man No Way Home, like he builds like a physics geometry tension rod that like helps him throw himself at like super high speeds. Like there's like multiple things where he's like, there's famous where he like hooks a bunch of cranes together and like uses that. Like he uses web fluid to like as like flammable or inflammable material at various times. He uses it to heal and repair himself. Like he uses it to make wings like at random times. Like there's the ones with the Spider-Man with little like web wings in his armpits and stuff. Like he uses it for so many things. And it's basically limited to the writer's imagination of what he ends up using it for. And that's not how D&D works. D&D works as hey, you've got 4 spell slots, and you're going to make it happen. So, as always with superheroes, actually, honestly, with Thor, it didn't really matter. But with superheroes in general,
yeah, we don't need to talk about Thor. That was hard, okay? I feel like we did a way better job with Captain America than we did with Thor.
But I mean, yeah. Well, obviously we could. If you watched us, you can tell which superhero we like. But Thor is just a side character anyway.
No, we're not getting into this now.
Yeah. with Spider-Man, right? Like you may consider, and I would strongly encourage you to potentially use a different system than D&D itself, because
yes,
or totally homebrew it so that like people get to pick like 6 spells, and those are their cantrips, and those are the only spells they get, and they basically don't learn more. Right? Yeah. Because then if everybody's if everybody's super, then no one is, right? And you're allowed to do this, right? Because it really does screw with you on how to do this. Yeah. Or play hard and fast with like in combat, you have spell slots or things of that nature, but out of combat, you don't worry about it. Right. Mm-hmm. Or in like encounters with stressful situations, like you're going to you need to find some alternative ways to get this stuff happen so that your Spider-Man can do what you need to do. We've plugged like my system 0 Day. Masks does a good job of this. I would not personally recommend some of the other superhero systems out there, but like those are some of the ones you can take inspiration from to kind of make stuff happen more. Even taking inspiration from things like Daggerheart so that you have hope and fear, which is actually pretty Spider-Man branded.
Very much so.
And you can kind of cheat the rules a little bit by paying with hope and saying, I normally can't do this, but I'm going to cheat with hope. Like stuff like that. Yeah. It allows you to do some of these things. I would include some of this stuff because it just doesn't get to the fiction of what makes me feel like Spider-Man, right? There's this big debate within the game mechanics of just how does, like when you make Spider-Man video games, is like, do you want to have Spider-Man's swing mechanics be super nuanced and difficult? Or do you want it to be like easy and intuitive and forgiving? And for the most part, game designers have made it easy and forgiving because you want to feel like Spider-Man, as opposed to have like to learn to be Spider-Man. You want to feel like Spider-Man. So again, up to you though.
Yeah, so it's very funny because I agree with you, Kyle. For everyone watching, I agree with Kyle. That's not the problem. So hear that when I continue. I agree with you, Kyle. I do think though that D&D has evolved into I shouldn't say D&D. The D&D players, the people, the DMs, the players, the people who watch this, who play D&D and love it. I feel like we have all evolved into people who use D&D as roadmaps and guidelines and not so much as Bible. I would say that's why you also encounter a lot of people who are older players who've been playing for longer who treat it as Bible, who go, no, this is what the things say. We have to use spell slots if we're going to do this, et cetera, et cetera. But you can already hear from me and Kyle, like from the beginning of us talking about this, I was already saying, make web a cantrip, make this a cantrip. I was like, I threw out spell slots before. I didn't even think spell slots should exist in this. Kyle literally just said that as well. Mm-hmm. So it's like, we're already kind of in the vein of D&D proper does not lend itself to the feeling of being Spider-Man. So if you're creating Spider-Man, have the conversation, because again, we're creating a character here. So have a conversation with your dungeon master if you're going to play D&D and be like, hey, like Kyle said, here are the spells that let me do stuff. Catapult, ensnare, entangle. What else did we say? We said jump, spider climb. Mm-hmm. I think that's already 6, but I'm like, there's a couple more. Oh, long strider. And then one that I was thinking of, but I didn't say featherfall, but turning it into just like webbing and slowly going down. Yep. Mm-hmm. I'm like, you can have a conversation with the dungeon master, be like, hey, these are the spells I want to take. I don't want to take any other spell any other time. And the spells can still like do better as you level up because that's mechanically already in there.
Yep.
But I don't want to, if you're playing this character, I don't want to ever take any other spells. And then work with your dungeon master to be like, hey, web is the most generic of all of them. Can that be the catch-all for things that aren't listed in my other spells?
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, catapult is catapult. Like, that's easy. But like, for web slinging, can I just use web? For et cetera, can I just say it happens? You know what I mean? Can I, if I want to make wings, can I web my armpits? Like that, can I just do that? Because again, D&D for the most part, since it is a little bit restrictive in some of this more creative lanes, like Kyle said, lean into other systems if you want to with your Dungeon Master. If you're already going to play those and create this character there. But if not, if your Dungeon Master's like, hey, we're playing D&D and you want to play Spider-Man, talk about the things that you can shift. And I would highly suggest using spells like literally my biggest suggestion is take web and make it the catch-all.
Yeah.
If you don't find something specific like catapult or ensnare or et cetera, make web the catch-all of the things that you can just do with a web.
Yeah. So
that makes your life a lot easier.
We're definitely going to talk about this more when we actually cover Spider-Man Brand New Day, which we're going to be doing, which will be releasing pretty soon. And we're going to talk about more about how to rule webs and how to make it all happen a thing from our Dungeon Master side. So you can check out that video and or anticipate that video if you're watching it right when this video releases. But here's the 60-second pitch from me to your Dungeon Master if you're a player. All right.
Oh, go, yeah.
Right. Hello, Dungeon Master. You're doing such a great job. Your story is amazing. The mechanics you're building, everything is great. Table management, awesome. Pacing, wonderful. This wonderful, beautiful player wants to play Spider-Man. And they're going to ask you to throw out spell slots and let them use webs and spider climb and a couple of these things as cantrips. What I'm going to remind you is a wizard at 5th level gets Fireball. That does 86 damage. And a fighter gets nothing close until they're level 15. So this player is just asking for non-combat, non-damaging spells that they can do at any time. And nothing else. I think you should allow it. Thanks.
Hilarious. I think you should allow it at the end of that. It's crazy.
but for real though,
I think you should say yes.
But for real though, like if you're a Dungeon Master watching this, or if you're a player, like talk to your Dungeon Master about this because it really is like, what are they afraid of? Every Dungeon Master is, and this is for you and I too, Taylor, right? We're afraid of players abusing the power.
Yeah.
Right? Like it is there. Like we want to make sure everybody at the table has fun, and we don't want anybody else at the table to feel left out or feel underpowered or feel, bad. So this should be a session 0 type conversation with multiple people. Your Dungeon Master should talk to everybody else and say, hey, this character's going to do this. Here's how I ruled it. What do you think? Half the people at the table won't even know what they're talking about and be like, okay, sure, I guess. They want to play Spider-Man. That's great. For those who are more mechanically inclined, they may have some balancing questions and issues. And this may or may not be a character that if you're going to throw all the spell slots, that some people are not going to want to play with because it's going to defy the rules. If you're more traditional and like the rules are gospel, like then this may or may not be there for you. Within that vanilla build of like just raw data and all that, I would still build like an Artificer Ranger or like Monk combo and like Rogue Ranger Artificer thing, and then pick a bunch of these spells. But I think you're going to be mechanically pretty disappointed with what you get. But you can still do it, like if you really want to, or just have flavors of Spider-Man. Because also, for the record, as we move on from our base build into something we talked like 15 minutes on this thing.
We sure did.
We're going to go to the Resonance and Vibe. Some of what makes Spider-Man is completely not his power set, right? There's the DC villain, I think it's like Red Spider or whatever. It's the Black Spider or whatever. Like that guy has the same power set, and he's even mildly quippy, right? And it's very much not Spider-Man, right? And I remember like I feel like one of the most famous things, at least for me in my life, my friends, is like there's that Spider-Man version. That guy shows up as a villain in Young Justice, and like I've had like multiple people who I've watched Young Justice with be like, "Who is that? Why is Spider-Man here?" And it's like, and then after a while, everyone's like, "This is kind of a lame version of Spider-Man. It's not Spider-Man." And I was like, "Yeah, because Spider-Man's not the powers, right?" So the thing that makes Spider-Man, in my mind, is. And this is true. If a great example of this is watching Into the Spider-Verse, where we've gotten hundreds of different versions of Spider-Man, right? Is the canon event for Spider-Man is tragedy. And his push, his desire, his or her, because there's spider people, there's tons of spider people. The spider person's push to choose goodness, responsibility, duty, over in the face of tragedy, over and over and over. And in fact, Into the Spider-Verse 2, like Across the Spider-Verse, the villainous versions of the spider people that show up are people who have taken this too far or no longer choose goodness. They choose like duty over goodness, right? But it's always about responsibility and goodness and choosing what is the responsible thing over what is convenient or easy. And in the face of tragedy, the famous death of Uncle Ben is the thing that puts Spider-Man on his proper path, right? It's in the original comics, he's actually going to use his powers for money as like a cage fighter in like a WWE style thing. And then his Uncle Ben dies and he realizes, no, I have to use my powers for good, right? And it changes his life. And that's the essential part, right? It's why like the Spider character in DC is not him at all, right? It's the power set doesn't make it. In fact, other characters are much more close to Spider-Man if they don't have any of his powers, but they choose goodness over these things. Like Superman is closer to Spider-Man than that Red Spider guy is in DC because of that choosing of goodness. And now this does get a little ridiculous where from a story perspective, it's almost impossible for Spider-Man to have a good day because he has to have tragedy in his life to constantly be responsible for and to constantly keep pushing towards goodness. So like
he always has to choose goodness.
So if he has to choose goodness all the time, bad stuff has to happen. And like it's also why him and Mary Jane stay together for so long, and now they're kind of trying to move away from it because it started getting toxic. But it's like they have like a semi on again, off again, toxic-ish relationship, and like he kind of has to have that so that he like constantly pushes towards choosing the right thing over and over and over. It's also why I think it's the Ultimate Spider-Man who does Parker Industries and eventually just kind of moves on and lives a healthier life is my favorite version because it's the Spider-Man version that I'm like, oh, he's actually happy, good, you know. But that's the essential. So how do we just take what I just said, and also if you want to add something on, totally do it, and make it part of the resonance and vibe for what we're going to do for this character?
I mean, I think you said it. I think when you have this character, when you design this character, I mean, it's in the backstory, it's in the conversations you have with your dungeon master about this just being like a tragic hero who's just always fighting against the idea of tragedy. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, I think this is one of those cases where you're building a D&D character. You have the bonds, the flaws, the like all that sort of stuff. Like you want to really focus in on that. That's actually the most important part of your character. The flaw, like every single spider person has a different sort of flaw, but their bonds and their ideals are all basically the same of like, I'm going to choose goodness and duty over what is convenient and easy because I'm his responsibility and great power, whatever.
Yeah.
Right. And so as we design this character, let's D&D-ify the Uncle Ben story. I
don't want to do that. That's sad.
Who's our guy? I mean, I thought you loved tragedy.
I know I like sad things, but not all sad things are good to talk about all the time. And him dying is so sad. I don't know. I think that's also a little bit difficult. Not difficult. I think it's subjective. I think it's really what you want it to be, because it depends on the backstory you're going with, right? So we're D&D-ifying this, so you're not Spider-Man proper. So that means like if you are an artificer, ranger, whatever, or a monk, rogue, whatever, I think it's like if you're playing a monk, like I think an easy thing to do is be like, oh, my master was killed by bandits or like thieves or whatever. I think if you're like, oh, I'm a ranger artificer, it could be as easy as like you're a part of a tribe and it's literally your mother or father or uncle or sibling, whatever. It's a family member and you're all traveling together and then homeboy gets killed, which would be really interesting. But I think something that I always find fascinating, again, it's up to you. It is your backstory. But what I always find fascinating is the thing that gives me powers is the thing that killed my person.
Yeah.
So especially we're going Spider-Man. I'm excited about the idea of, again, leaning into a little bit of the Ranger, of the Artificer and Ranger. And why I picked Ranger was because I like the idea that, like, you are a part of a tribe, you live in a forest or a jungle, and then a giant spider that is magical, like a phase spider or whatever, bites you and, like, your brother or something, or your sister or sibling or whatever. And they die, but now you can do web stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And that sucks. So it's like you, and this is I'm trying to remember which spider universe that happens to somebody. Spider Noir.
Mm-hmm.
That Spider-Man. He gets bitten by a spider, or he gets experimented on the way that everybody else in his universe does. That's how everybody gets the powers in the universe. It was basically a bunch of military people who all get experimented on by a doctor, and then they all get their powers that way. Except one of the guys who got their powers was basically, well, he was experimented on kind of. One of the guys in the military people was experimented on was like half spider. It was crazy. Bites Spider Noir, he gets spider powers. Then they experiment on him to see how he got the spider powers, and then the experimentation like helps stabilize him, so he doesn't actually die. But the first spider guy did, and that was his literal comrade in arms. Like,
right.
And he talks about that all the time. He's like, I just wish I didn't. I wish I wouldn't have survived.
Right.
And I think that is a beautiful, tragic backstory to go off of personally. Because I think that gives you the drive. It's the imposter syndrome of being a superhero,
right?
Of being like, it shouldn't have been me, but because it is me, I have to keep going.
Which is sort of how Peter Parker is supposed to be in the first place, right? Like, it's the spider biting him in the lab is sort of like random. It's not this like, oh, he's the son of Odin or whatever,
right.
Or he's an alien from another planet. It's just this random guy is on a random tour, and then boop, he becomes Spider-Man, right? So that's definitely the thing. Okay, so. This also talks about our inner drive and tension, but we're going to skip ahead a little bit to that, because I think what this also informs for me really quick is, like, the Uncle Ben character should be relatively integral to the story itself, right? If you watch the who is Miles Morales' like Uncle Ben story, it's his uncle, and that has a lot to do with the whole Spider universe and the universe that he occupies, right? Classic Peter Parker with Uncle Ben, it's a huge deal for that. Like, it changes things around. Spider Gwen is her death moment is Peter Parker, right? And like it's all of these characters are important, but it shapes the story that you're in. And because you're a character in a D&D campaign, I would make whoever your Uncle Ben character is something that leads to larger plots, like the mentor of in your if you're a martial artist, makes a ton of sense. Or like this giant phase spider or whatever comes in, and you're like, and like also write a little detail of like, oh, there have been multiple like giant phase creature sightings around the world, and the people don't know what's going on. Like, add some stuff to give your dungeon master some cool things, so that your origin story will be integrated into the plot and have things go overall, and the death of the character will be important, right? And we're not just fridging them for like, aha, now it's tragedy, but it's like, no, it's a part of the plot. This is all important overall.
I will also say, if you're a dungeon master watching this, make your character's backstories a part of the plot.
Yeah.
Don't be mean. Don't go, cool, that's a fun detail that we'll never touch again. No. Their backstories are a part of the plot. I am so mad at dungeon masters who don't do that. Love you guys. Figure it out. That's your job. Goodness gracious.
Oh, anyway. Yeah. I mean, it's going to make everybody feel like the story was written for them, and it will actually make your job easier because it already informs everything anyway. So anyway, that's like for me, the inner drive for Peter Parker is very obvious, right? The Spider-Man is it's responsibility, right? And the tension is, as we just said, is like, how do I continue to choose optimism in the light of all this sort of stuff? So let's just jump back into then the extra froth and weird for us. What are the extra froth and weird for us type of stuff that we want to throw in here? And then we're going to actually wrap it up.
Yeah. Honestly, I just want romance.
Oh.
I really like the fact that Peter Parker or Spider-Man, whoever is Spider-Man, Spider-Man, Spider-Woman, Spider-Gwen, Spider-Bot, Spider-Pig, whatever, beans, greens, tomatoes, potatoes. Anyway, I really like the idea that whoever is the spider is always up against a romance that they don't feel good enough to be a part of. And I think that is so funny to me, but I think it is very fun as your character to have some NPC or to let you work with your DM and be like, hey, can you give me 3 NPCs that like are love interests over time? And be like, sure. But I really like that because I think it's really funny when you as a character are like, hi, what's your name? And they're like, my name's MJ. And you are like head over heels and you're like, I don't know how to talk to you. And then like, that's great. Because I also feel like it is very fun when that NPC, you get to, your DM can use that NPC or you can use that NPC as a part of this tension.
Right.
Of like, it's always there's tragedy and I have to choose goodness, but I also don't feel like always super equipped to do that.
Yeah.
But like I have to do it even if I don't necessarily feel like the guy who should be doing it.
Yeah.
It's fun to have that NPC, that romantic love interest that is like, no, but you are the one who should be doing it. Or they're like, no, you're right, you shouldn't be doing it.
Right.
You should live a normal life. And that tension is always very fun of like, well, what do you think, MJ? And she's like, well, I'm not a superhero, but here's my unsolicited opinion, you know? So I just think that's fun.
Well, okay, so I do think that actually ties really nicely into my extra for us that's weird for us. And well, some Spider-Man fans will probably say will debate me. This is actually base build, but and at the very least, we're going to talk about it in this section. I think this is less important for Spider-Man, but pretty important, but not as important as some, because there's some iterations to Spider-Man where this really is not a big part of the picture. But Spider-Man's got dual identity. It's Peter Parker and Spider-Man.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
So the romance part, it's fun and interesting when Spider-Man has the romantic interest who is for Peter Parker, and then the romantic interest for Spider-Man, right? And the dual nature of all of that. And the various lives. Even when we watch Into the Spider-Verse, like Miles Morales is like, oh, like, there's the girl at school who turns out to be an interdimensional traveler, and this is wild. And like, we can't be together because like, does she only like my spider identity? What about me? You know, like all this sort of stuff, right? Like, it's great stuff. So having that integrated into your plot would be something that I would strongly ask you to consider. The reason it's not for me a base build thing is that is hard to pull off in a D&D campaign easily. If you're going to build a whole superhero universe and superhero campaign, which I recommend, then easy. You can absolutely totally do that. But you have to figure out a little bit harder, how are you going to do the dual identity piece? So like perhaps like it's a simple scenario would be, if you're a part of a Rangers enclave and an Artificers enclave, like, or like you have a regular persona and you have like that. Like this is why I was thinking maybe you do like Rogue as well, because then if you go to the Thieves Guild persona as one identity and then the regular persona is another, you can do Thieves Camp back and forth. Like this sort of thing can kind of have that make sense. But one of the best moments of doing a Spider-Man story or like being a Spider-Man character is the moment where it's like, oh my God, I'm late for my date with MJ, but there's an explosion down the road and they're robbing a bank. What do I do?
Yeah.
And MJ's mad at you because you skipped out on the date, but you saved the town, and you get that like tension and tragedy of like she's legitimately, if you're a regular person, this is totally legitimate, but you're Spider-Man, so it's not, you're also so totally legit. Like that tension is like the core for me. So like you can achieve that core other ways. It is possible as a writer, but it's fun if you have a secret identity. So I would think about it like of like some sort of secret place where you're going to do this or whatever. And or your party, maybe with your party members, you're Spider-Man, but you have like in your downtime, you always go off to do regular life things and you're just like a regular merchant or something, you know? So just to recap, for Spider-Man, we spent most of our time trying to figure out how to actually build mechanically Spider-Man, because that's the hardest part. But we suggest you throw out spell slots and give Spider-Man all the cantrips for webs, and spider climb, and snaring strike, catapult, but don't get more or less. Those are your spells. That's it. And we kind of have that Artificer Ranger combo overall. For the rest of it, like consider having a secret identity and dual identity, secret identity with the party, and then some other things outside of it. And we have some cool romantic interests, because those types of things have the tension, because the inner drive and tension are always about responsibility and duty and getting in the way of like a regular life, and also choosing goodness over anything over things is that the sort of responsibility, despite in the face of tragedy, which is the hardest part. And regardless of what you encounter, it's all about that tension of tragedy versus choosing goodness all the time. So ultimately, relatively quick, but again, you have to kind of negotiate this with your dungeon master. This is a complicated character to play. Like, it's actually easier to play something like Superman or like Batman or whatever, because they're more mechanically in line with what D&D is trying to do in the first place. All right, Taylor, any final thoughts before we whip our way away?
Hot take. Web shooters over natural webs in your arms. I think those are gross. Web shooters always, all the time.
Great. And thanks for watching our video. And if you like and subscribe for more content like this, and we'll see you in the next video.
Bye. Jurassic Park, How to Train Your Dragon, The Princess Bride, Inception, Matrix, Mad Max, Fury Road, John Wick, Ghostbusters, Pokemon, Hunger Games, 28 days later.
Hey there, just want to shout out to our patrons. Thanks so much for subscribing on Patreon and supporting the show. Thanks to Count Bubba, Fizz, Fedorva Will, Richard, Varner Jr., and Who's Scruffy Looking.